African coup d'états are making a comeback. A lengthy history of coups may be traced back to Africa. Between 1960 and 2010, military coups in Africa averaged 4 per year. By 2019, that number is expected to drop to 2 per year. It is now clear that coup attempts and successes are returning to historic levels across the continent. Instead of quick executions or gunfights, contemporary coups tend to include the arrest and ouster of incumbent presidents or prime ministers. In recent coups, organized civil society and opposition politicians have actively conspired with the deposed authorities to extend their stay, as in certain cold coups. Those nations in West Africa that had military takeovers responded in a variety of ways, with the exception of Sudan, where population fought the invaders. UN Special Representative for West Africa Annadif Khatir Mahamat Saleh recently observed that the revival of coups is typically the result of political practices that are entirely out of line with the aspirations of communities. This publication, as we've indicated time and time again, is opposed to military rule. Democracy-elected presidents in Africa, on the other hand, seem to provide military dictators with a reason to attack when they continue to disappoint the people. People in Africa's painful poverty and dearth of work prospects serve as glaring indicators of a political leadership that has failed the people. Many people in Africa are suffering from poverty and pessimism that eats away at their souls, according to Human Development Indicators (HDI). Examples of countries with high rates of poverty include Burkina Faso, 43.8%, Mali, 41.9%, Sudan, 55.6%, Guinea, 36.1%, Niger, 45.4%, and the Central African Republic, Chad, 42%. Individuals who live in nations where peasant farming is the primary source of work may see firsthand how depressing it is for those who have earned college degrees to be unemployed, underemployed, or earning salaries that are just too low to live on. African nations that have seen military intervention because of poor administration and corruption may serve as a warning for other countries where democratic rule is just in name. A single reason for the resurgent trend of coups in Africa does not apply to all countries. Some have pointed the fault at the growing number and influence of foreign players, especially China, Russia, and France. As in Chad last year, France has an extensive history of working hand in hand with sit-tight African dictators and ignoring dynastic successions rather than democratically elected governments in nations within its area of influence in Africa. A lack of fear of retaliation or penalties from the West has been suggested to fuel coups in Africa. Regional political and business groups have been without a bite. A paradigm change in the way African political leaders conduct their business is required to cope with the pandemic of coups. More than penalties, border closures and threats of isolation are needed by the leaders of the Economic Community of West Africa, ECOWAS. Political leaders in West Africa need to do a reality check and admit that they haven't done enough for Africans and have made it easy for coups to happen. African elites shackle themselves to the West rather than build their economies via regional economic cooperation, revealing their complete incompetence in reviving the continent's economy. We urge the African Union and ECOWAS to act together to avoid or deal with coups. Since they were imposed, sanctions against military juntas have been unsuccessful. It is only via the distribution of democratic dividends that the continent can be free of military coups. African governance requires a thorough surgical procedure.